Hi, I'm Susan Barth. I'm the president and founder of the nonprofit Together in Happiness and B'Yachad B'Osher, and we are delighted to welcome back those of you who have been to our previous events, and a special welcome to those joining us for the first time, and a very special welcome to our guest presenter, Rabbi Dr. Yosef Lynn. Before I introduce him, for those of you that are not familiar with our nonprofit, I just want to spend a minute or so giving you a little background on who we are. We are a nonprofit since 2011 as a resource center promoting the awareness, recognition, and advocacy for the critical importance of marriage education and enrichment and coaching. And we work with Jewish couples primarily at all stages in Israel, English speaking countries, whether you're engaged or up to empty nesters. But what marriage education, for those that are familiar with the concept, is that it generally is based upon a curriculum by a trained facilitator working in groups, not exclusively, but it's not therapy. That's the big distinction. And the goal is to provide skills that for a healthy, lasting marriage. And generally, the topics include communication, problem solving, conflict resolution, expectations, mainly also how to talk without fighting. And the question is, who can benefit? The universe can benefit because the nature of the topics are such that they're intended, again, for healthy, happy marriages and relationships, which includes engaged couples, newlyweds, expecting, married couples, also partners. We also encourage any kind of partner to join us, our mission. But the focus is on the couple because, again, they're the reason that we want to make sure that the couple gets all the skills for foundations at the beginning or along the way. It's considered the benefit, what's in it is that there are like three B's: the benefits of marriage, the benchmarks, so you know what transitions to expect, and also the behaviors, what to, again, expect as you go through the journey together. And main thing, building a stronger bonds and supporting each other and lowering the risk for divorce. And all of this has been statistically proven. But again, the couple is part of a family, and the family of origin is the first glimpse that the single has to what makes up a nuclear family. And we know from history that those that are two-parent family and a happy marriage, the child gets all the seeds for the best foundation. And generally, it's good for the economy, it's good for health, and it's good for society. So, speaking of society, it is my privilege to introduce Rabbi Dr. Yosef Lynn, who is the Dean of Students for Mahon Yaakov and the founder and director of the Greatness Within Seminars and a co-author and executive coach. And I can tell you in his book, Not a Partnership, I've read it twice. Without further ado, thank you for joining us today, Rabbi Dr.
Beautiful. Okay. Yosef is good also. Okay, Susan, thank you so much for having me here. It's amazing what you do in your organization. And unfortunately, a lot of times when we think of marriage, we look at just where the issues are. We don't think about how to actually make it better. And therefore, your work is so dedicated towards doing all the good things. The same thing we would do for any company or any business, we would invest, in a proactive manner in order to make it great. So your organization is doing things like that to make the most important relationship in our life that much more special. So it's awesome to be here and really just super amazing what you're doing. And all of your great work should only continue.
May, thank you.
Okay, my pleasure. What I want to do here is I want to get super practical tonight. It's my time, wherever you may be. And what I really want to share with everyone are in my over 20 years of being involved with trying to help marriages be awesome, not just survive, but actually to be really great. These are the two areas I find myself that I keep coming back to. And what I want to do is not only speak about these ideas big picture, but I want to go very practical tonight as far as how these ideas play out. And that's what I want to take you through. So there's really going to be two sections, two separate things. And it's, more than anything else, while, again, I'm all for the fact that marriages have things they need to work on and there are problems. Of course, there are. But what I find too much is that couples aren't doing the proactive things like Susan, like the work that you're doing. We're not doing that enough to do all the good stuff that makes a marriage more connected. And therefore, I just want to be a little bit of a part of your work tonight and maybe share some more practical tools that you can add to your curriculum. So here's what I want to do. I'm going to take you through a bunch of slides, and we'll have basically two sections. I'm halfway through. I'll take some questions, but I'll really save the main questions for the end. I'm also going to give you some questions to think about, after the class tonight, and that's a story. Okay. So I'm going to throw up some slides here, and here we go. And let me just take you through just these two crucial points that we're going to touch upon here. And here we go. What I want to do is give you a little bit of an overview of just where this work is coming from and kind of what I have been involved with. Most of my work basically combines two areas, which is the world of Judaism and positive psychology. For people who don't know what positive psychology is, most psychology is built off of a disease model, which is these are the issues, let's fix those. Positive psychology says, hey, where are things going right? And let's do more of that. And so that's really, a combination of where I've spent a lot of my time over the years, and especially my work on marriage. A lot of it is what I'm going to be speaking about tonight comes from just two different resources that I had the privilege to put together over the past years. But what I want to tell you is like this, is I think that anyone showing up to some sort of class like this, it's heroic. People live lives that are really busy these days. And unfortunately, the place that gets the, not enough attention is usually the most important part of our life, which is our marriage. But if people are taking time out, especially with just how much we're all trying to balance, to sit down and figure out how to make their marriage better, how to make that marriage stronger, to me, that's awesome. And before I go any further, and if you don't remember anything tonight, I just want to say that in my mind, I think it's amazing that you're doing this and really just something to celebrate here. Now, just a bit of an introduction, okay? The thing that all of us are yearning for more than anything else is that chemistry, that connection in our marriage. There's nothing like it. When we've had those moments in the past, it's like gold. And the thing that you see couples yearn for the most is to have those moments where we feel close, where we feel connected to one another. And the reality is that those moments shouldn't be random. And even more than that, there are proactive things that we can do actually to make that happen. And what I'm going to share with you tonight is a bit of a diagram. This is my own diagram that I often give out to people, that a lot of times I'll speak to people about their children, and we're not talking about children tonight, but where I'll go to before we talk about children is I'll always go to these two areas. And what I've seen is these two areas are the key to success as far as a marriage being able to really thrive. And the two areas I'm going to speak about tonight are, number one, you taking care of yourself. And we're going to talk about what that is. And number two, doing things to proactively invest in your marriage to keep that freshness, to keep that closeness. And that's what we're going to spend time on over our segment together. And this is really what I'm going to go into. And what I have seen is that when people do these two things, number one, self-care, number two, proactively invest in their marriage, the spillover to all areas of life is amazing. The people that benefit the most are our children, no matter what stage of life you're at. I was recently working with people who are grandparents, and we were doing this kind of work together. And it was amazing to see how, like, their older kids who are already building their own families at that stage were like, couldn't believe, like, whoa, we've never seen our parents like so connected. Like, what's going on here? And so the spillover is amazing to all areas. And what I want to do is, again, my goal here is to get very practical. I don't want to keep a big picture. And that's the story. So with that, what I want to do is launch into our first area of self-care and really just speak about just how important this is. And the reality is like this. When we think about self-care, unfortunately, the word, self-care has a selfish connotation. And we look at that as a luxury. We look at it as uh, something that, if everything else works out, we are allowed to do. Maybe it's a nice thing if we have some time. But the reality is that if we are showing up to our marriages depleted, then there's no chance of allowing the marriage to really get the energy and connection it deserves. And I've just seen too many times across the board that people aren't going out of their way to invest in themselves. And therefore, of course, the marriage doesn't have positive energy. Of course, things feel frustrating in that important relationship. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work. If you're not showing up where you're feeling full, where you are giving yourself the gasoline that's needed, then being able to engage in the most important relation in our life isn't a possibility. You may be able to get away with it when you see this colleague at work or that community event. You can find enough kind of steam in the engine to like push through it. But when it comes to that everyday relationship in our life, if we're depleted, everything falls apart. And what I want to do is I want to speak about the world of self-care in a little bit of a different manner. And I want to go through some of the basics, but even more than that, I want to go through some of the things which are a lot of times not included in the world of self-care, but they're a major part of it. So like this, as far as the basics are concerned, if I think about the marriage book that I've given out the most, it's this book here. He was a teacher of mine when I was doing my master's degree. But if there's a book which I've given out to couples more than any other marriage book, it's this book about the basic fundamentals of key areas of your life to make sure they're going well. And, when I work with a couple, the first thing I'll look at is like, okay, let's just see, are you doing these things in a certain way or not? And if the answer is no, let's forget about the marriage and and what I see even more than that is that when couples are actually really doing well in these three areas, it's amazing to see how all of a sudden that creates almost instantly the ability to connect to your spouse in such an awesome manner. And I want to take you through these areas, okay? And I don't want to spend too much time on it because I want to go into more areas which I think are in the world of self-care. So like this, let me walk you through, okay? Obviously, there is the world of healthy eating, okay? Which, I'm not here to pitch any sort of fad or new diet or whatever it may be. But if you look what's going inside of us all day, you've got to realize that that is either going to energize you or deplete you. And one of the greatest things you can do as far as not just for yourself, but for the sake of you being able to show up for your spouse in an awesome way is people really thinking about like, are my eating habits building my marriage or not? Are my eating habits good for this important relationship or not? And again, I'm all for let's do things in moderation and let's do things in a healthy manner. But I see too often people aren't thinking about this. It seems like a nice idea or a luxury, and that's an issue. Now, let's go even further, okay? When it comes to the world of movement, now, most people that I encounter when it comes to the world of movement is usually a chore that we have to get done. Okay, something you have to do. You have to go for that walk. You have to go to the gym. And a lot of times for most people, movement is actually quite boring. And therefore, when it's boring, you don't want to do it. Okay, I am a victim to that 100%. But what I've found with many people that I've worked with, okay, is that, they'll tell me they have no time to exercise, no time to work out. All of a sudden, you start asking some questions. Well, tell me, okay, you can't make it to the gym, you can't do this, but what are things you actually really like doing? So I put a rock climber here, a recent situation I was involved with. A husband didn't have any time for exercise, was totally depleted. And what did we do? We looked at, okay, what do you love doing? And he said rock climbing. He used to do it when he was a young kid. So all of a sudden what happened We found a small little slot during his week, a small little slot where he could start to rock climb. Then what happened? All of a sudden, he enjoyed that. And it turned over to what? Hey, all of a sudden, there are gaps in the schedule where he can start rock climbing more. And therefore, when people think about the world of movement, a lot of times it's another chore on your list. If it's another chore on your list, you won't get there. We have too many things on our list. Okay. And unfortunately, a lot of times when it comes to our own movement, people don't wake up until they really have to. But if you start to look at it and start thinking about the ways of what you enjoy to do, what actually, so even though you may not have tons of time to do it, what you'll actually find out is that when you start doing it, more time will open up than you think. And when people feel in shape, when people feel that they are moving throughout the day, so all of a sudden, the place which is going to benefit in an awesome manner is that relationship that you're building your entire life with. Let me go further. And this will be kind of the last fundamental thing. Okay. All of us know if we're not sleeping well, watch out, world. Okay. Everything crashes very fast. Now, people may not have the luxury of being able to get the amount of sleep you want or the exact sleeping conditions that you need. But people don't think about this enough as far as how is my sleeping impacting my relationships. And the place which is going to get hit the most, I find, is I can't tell you how many couples I've seen are just not getting enough sleep. We can go through various reasons, but all of a sudden you give them enough sleep, so the energy changes between them. The connection changes between them. So I think an area to think about is this world of sleep. Now, those are kind of the basic things I wanted to go into, but I want to kind of now go a little bit broader, okay? Self-care can include other things. Self-care can include the world of you taking care of yourself, buying the things you need, pampering yourself. And when people go out of their way to do this a little bit and give themselves permission to make that happen, all of a sudden what happens, you feel better about yourself, and therefore it's much easier to connect to your spouse. And let's continue in the world of self-care. Self-care may also be you taking it upon yourself to get other needs of yours taken care of. Maybe it's a therapist. Maybe it's a coaching program. Maybe it's who knows what. But there are so many things out there that taking care of your well-being, as far as you being able to focus on things that you care about, that are important to you, and maybe that are causing noise inside, or you just want to get things from good to great, all of a sudden you find that outlet, you begin to work on it a little bit, that may release so many things that are holding you back in your marriage. And therefore, this is also in the world of self-care. And let's go a little further. People have hobbies. And a lot of times for people, they drop their hobbies. For one reason only, is there was a time in their life where they could do their hobby for 3 or 4 hours a day. Now that I can no longer do it for that amount, forget about it. I can't tell you how many people I've had meetings with where there's a dusty guitar in the corner that hasn't been touched for about 10 years, and that's crazy. And, every time I ask them about it, do you play? No, it's out of tune. No, it's a broken string. It's had a broken string since 1984. It's been sitting there. And I see when people allow themselves to indulge a little bit in those hobbies that they enjoy and those things that give them a sense of creativity or ability to clear their mind, like, whoa, it's awesome to see how that creates positive energy. And the first person that's going to benefit from that is your spouse. And I want to even go a little further. Okay. We just got done with the Super Bowl. Okay. We live in the world of entertainment options galore. I'm not here to tell you what to go to, what not to go to. You have to figure that out for yourself, what works for you, what you're excited by. But even the world of sometimes you investing in things that you enjoy, you investing in things that bring positive emotions, that kind of self-care can all of a sudden filter over in an amazing way to your marriage. And just to go 2 steps even further, okay? Education. Sometimes people go out of their way, let me take on a project of, what? I want to go back to school. I want to get, this certificate. That investment in yourself all of a sudden frees up a certain energy where the place that's going to benefit is not just you and in your professional kind of next steps. It's going to be your marriage because you feel like you're giving yourself what you need. You're investing in parts that are important for your future. And the last one I'll share with you, okay? The last one I'll share with you is the world of friendships. One of the most powerful places that unfortunately doesn't get the attention that it needs because of the world of busyness is the world of friendships. And when people go out of their way to have moments with friends where you connect, where you laugh, it's something which can be therapeutic as an understatement. But when people have those experiences, you go out to dinner with a friend, you do this with a friend, even just a phone call or whatever it may be, it just allows people to feel like you're actually investing in yourself. And again, the more you fill yourself up, the more you can give to that most important relationship in your life. Now, what I want to share with you before we wrap up this section, I want to share with you basically the biggest blockage to the world of self-care. The biggest blockage is we don't get enough encouragement from our spouses to go down this path. And that's what I see gets in the way the most. And what I find is that when couples can go out of their way of what can I do to encourage my spouse to invest in self-care, one of the many options we spoke about during our past few minutes here. But when you get that encouragement, it's so much easier. And what I find is that when couples can go out of their way to encourage their spouse, take care of yourself, invest in yourself, okay, the place that's going to benefit so fast the marriage. But I can't tell you how many couples I've spoken to where they just feel that any investment they're going to do for their own self-care feels like they're taking away from their marriage, they're taking away from their kids. It feels like again, like a luxury, like a nice thing that they don't have the ability to do, when it's actually the opposite of that. And when we show up to our marriage and we are feeling full with our lives, okay, woe does the marriage have an amazing chance to feel connected and feel unified. And therefore, if I had to give any, super practical tip of what people need to think about in their marriages is what are you doing to encourage your spouse to take that next step for the world of self-care? Now, all these things that I just mentioned tonight, as far as self-care is concerned, I can't tell you how many times I've seen that people go out of their way to invest in themselves, and the first place that really benefits in an awesome manner is the marriage. And what I'm going to do here is something like this. This is not to be done now, but I would tell you, take out your phone, okay? And here you have a 5-minute exercise. Take a snapshot of these, take a quick picture of these questions. And these are questions that you can sit down, whether you want to do them on your own, whether you want to do them with your spouse, as a way to think about how this world of self-care plays out in your marriage, and more importantly, how the world of self-care can actually benefit your marriage. Okay, so everyone can grab a screenshot of this. And what I want to do right now before I move on to the next topic is I'm happy to take a few questions here. But if not, what I'll do is I'll keep going, and then I will take more questions at the end after the second topic. So if you have any questions, if you can throw them in the chat, that would be awesome. You can just put them in right there. I'll read them. I'll try and answer a couple of them. If there are no questions, so I will move forwards here and head to the next topic. But so drop them in if you have them. I'll wait here for a second to see if anything comes up. Okay, so what I'm going to have happen is I'm going to let actually keep firing those questions. What I'll do, unless any come up right now, is again at the end, I'll take questions on everything we spoke about, and that's a story. Okay, so here we go. What I want to do is move on to the next topic here. And let me put these slides up, and we are off to the races. Okay. Now, what I want to speak about is the world of proactive investment. And what you see very clearly is a lot of marriages are happy to deal, or not happy. They usually have no choice. We got to deal with our issues. But the question is, what are we doing as a couple to create more closeness. So I just spoke about what you can do as an individual. And you showing up healthier automatically creates a whole world of positive energy in your marriage. But what I want to speak about now is the world of proactive investment. And this is where I want to go in right now. And I want to share with you just some amazing tips, but really on two areas that I've seen do wonders. So here we go. All of us know that closeness that we felt when the marriage just started. And that may be for you recently, that may be 20 years ago, that may be 40 years ago. I don't know. But that energy we had then, and any time you had it afterwards, it's like the greatest gift in the world. When people feel that connection, they're on cloud nine. And even more than that, when they feel that connection, they're so much more resilient to deal with other things that may come up in life. And what unfortunately happens a lot of times is people look at that as like, oh, those are nice moments and hopefully we'll have them again. Okay. But the reality is like this, to keep anything fresh, it takes energy. I see when the vegetables come in my house, it's like, okay, get them in the fridge in 5 seconds. And then they have these containers for it. In order to keep something fresh, we got to stay on top of it. We've got to nurture it. And the same thing applies, okay, when it comes to creating that spark in our marriage. The same thing applies when it comes to giving our marriage that positive energy. It takes proactive work. It takes protecting it. And what I want to speak about, which is unfortunate, is the reality is that we all know things with time fall apart. That's the nature of everything else created in the world. So, of course, that's going to apply to relationships as well. And if you're not being proactive in order to keep things energized and new, so revert to the norm, which is here's a picture right in front of you. But the question is, are there things that can be done that create that connection, that create that freshness? And that's what I want to focus on right now. And there are two basic areas that I want to go into. I have seen when couples go out of their way to integrate these two ideas into their marriage in a consistent manner, feeling close and feeling connected becomes an understatement. So I want to go through those two things, okay? The two things I want to speak about are date night and the mini vacation, okay? Date night and the mini vacation. I'm going to go through each of these by themselves, okay? The world of date night is something which most couples don't do. Nice idea. We know we should do it. I've never met a couple who told me, nope, there's no need to do it. Every couple tells me you have to do it. Okay? Most couples don't do it though. They don't do it because life is busy. Date nights turn into the world of logistics. We don't like going out for dinner. There's no babysitter, and the list goes on. And the reality is that unfortunately what happens a lot in the world of date night is that people have this model in their head that if they can't have some sort of 3-hour romantic dinner where everything's amazing, we're totally connected, then forget about it. And therefore, date night becomes like, date once a year, maybe. And what I've seen to be an unbelievable thing is when couples go out of their way to not only cement this into their schedule, and it may be date night, it may be date morning, but even more than that, I'm going to give you a special technique, okay? And one of the most awesome techniques I've seen out there. Every couple has their strengths about things that they do together that they both really love doing. Not, my wife likes going here, so I'm a nice guy and I go with her. Every couple has those things that when they do those things together, since they both like that thing independently, now when they do it together, it's awesome. It may be they both like going and get a cup of coffee. It may be they both like going and for a hike. The list goes on. And what one couple may like, another couple may hate. And one of the greatest ways of how to think about your date night is you got to think about what actually works for the two of you. Let's throw the model out there about what everyone else is doing or what it looks like, on Instagram. Let's take the model of like what works for the two of you. And when I've had couples do this many times, you sit down, you make a list together from small things to big things. Okay. Not like things that can't happen. Like we love both surfing in Costa Rica, but we live, 40 hours away. Okay. Like that's nice, but not so helpful for the conversation. But let's go a little bit more. Have a couple, you sit down together and you make a list. You make a list of 20 things, very small things, okay, of things that two of you love doing together. Not that one likes it and the other is just going along for the ride. That's a nice thing, and you're called being a great spouse. I have taken my wife to many things that she hates, but she's an awesome wife, and therefore she comes, and vice versa. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about find those things that you both like doing together. And now all of a sudden, what happens when your date nights or your date day become about taking something off of that list and doing it, what you see is that, whoa, couples find a way to actually make it happen. And I'm going to give you one more tip. If I had to tell you what should be the common theme more than anything else that runs through all of these 20 things, okay? Try and make sure a good few of them make you laugh together. Put a smile on both of your faces. We have enough time for serious events in life. No one said date night had to have that. And now what I've seen is all of a sudden when you give couples that they now have a list on their fridge. I've had many couples, make that list, stick it on your fridge, voila. And a couple will have that list in their fridge, and all of a sudden that becomes the kind of the GPS for date night. Let's do this, let's do that. So all of a sudden what I find is that couples start finding a consistency in that world. And when couples now make that a consistent part of their life, proactively investing and doing something they both enjoy, so all of a sudden what you see very fast is that connection, that good feeling that we both want. Not the deep love that I feel for my spouse. Great, that's fantastic, but that's not what we're talking about. Talking about that superficial connection where we feel close, when we feel connected, all of a sudden the date night experience actually creates that. Now, maybe for another time, we can talk about how to have an HR meeting in your marriage where you can talk about logistics, but we can say that for another time. But let's go to a different topic, okay? And this is the last topic here, is the world of the mini vacation. Now, the mini vacation is an interesting thing. Most couples, when you ask them about a vacation, they would love to go. It's impossible. Don't have the money, the time, I'm busy, kids, fill in the blank with 90,000 excuses. The mini vacation is a different ballgame. The mini vacation is sub 24 hours, if that. It's all of a sudden, whether you have kids at home or whether you have meetings you can push aside, it's you have a couple, let's say they're both in Manhattan, okay? After work, they meet each other. There's dinner. You stay out somewhere together and back to work the next morning. And we don't use our resources that are around us enough when we think about the world of vacation. And if you look at the research out there, the research shows very clearly that if you had to choose big vacations or a lot of smaller vacations give you way more bang for your buck. And therefore, when I see couples go out of their way to, let's steal 12 hours away together. Let's get a bad babysitter. Let me cancel this meeting, even though I may get in trouble. And therefore, let's go into wherever we live, into the city, okay? There are amazing apps that can give you last-minute hotel rooms. Stay overnight. Next morning, back to work as normal. It's incredible to see the energy that happens there, okay? In over 20 years, I've never had a couple tell me, it was okay. Every couple tells me the same thing. It's like clockwork. They say, we've got to do that more often. So when it comes to vacations are overwhelming. But when it comes to a mini vacation, whoa, does it go a long way. And when people are thinking this way in a very small manner, it creates a freshness and a closeness in marriage, which is awesome. All of a sudden, you sprinkle that into your marriage every other month. Okay. So, in the business world, we always talk in quarters, Q1, Q2. If you can even stick in the 4 quarters, like awesome. But when people do this, I can't tell you just how incredible it is and the benefits that happen. Now, with both of these things, which I will just make sure that this applies to whether it's date night or date day or the mini vacation, it's important to make an effort. We spend a lot of time and energy making an effort for everyone around us as far as how we look, how we carry ourselves. And where that doesn't happen enough is when we make that effort in our marriage. And if I had to pick an important point that I find, if you can filter this into either the date night experience or the mini vacation, try and go out of your way a little bit to make an effort. When we were all in the beginning stage of our marriage, whoa, did we go out of our way? When it comes to any business meeting, when it comes to any community event, I'm gonna make sure I have a haircut, do my tie properly. So the most important relationship in my life also deserves that. It also deserves that priority, that attention. And we make that effort, it does so much for our spouse that, you know what? My spouse sees I'm not doing it because of a business meeting or a conference. I'm doing it for you. So it's another way of how to make sure that whether it's the date night experience or the mini vacation, how it goes that much better. And, you know, people think this is like a mistake in the slides, but probably the line that I always speak about the most when it comes to the world of marriage is great marriages don't happen, they're built. And maybe this takes me back to my days of architecture, but when we put the effort in to make a marriage great, we benefit tremendously. And no great marriage happened because just two awesome people showed up. We've got to put in the energy, just like in any other area of our life. It takes time, effort, commitment, you name it. But when we focus on these two practical things, especially what we just focused on right now, this idea of the date night being fixed and the world of the mini vacation, it's incredible to see how you can begin to create an upward spiral of so much positivity. Now, what I want to do here is, as we finish this section, I want to give you also another slide, and therefore go ahead and take a picture of this. And again, whether it's find 5 minutes by yourself or find 5 minutes with your spouse later on, but these are some questions that you can think about as far as trying to figure out your life as far as the world of, freshness, what you're doing in order to go out of your way to create that, especially with these two areas that we focused on. So what I would like to do with the remainder of our time here before I hand it back over to Susan is I wanted to open up the world of questions, whether it's about the last topic that we did as far as proactive investment, or it's about the first topic we did as far as the world of self-care. What I want to do is open up any questions here for the group. You can put them here in the chat, and then I'll go ahead and I'll do my best to fire away. Susan, you'll tell me when we're done, and that's the story.
Actually, there's a question that came up for the last one. Can you see it?
Great. Do you find having your spouse as an accountability partner for self-care a good thing? Or should you have an outside person be your accountability partner? Pros and cons. I usually find that, if my wife is pushing me too much to go to the gym, it gets quite annoying. And what I find is that, when it comes to accountability, it's like all nice at the beginning stages, but usually any of these goals that we try and do take some effort. So I find that the more accountability we can create outside of the marriage, okay, it usually goes great. I'd much rather for myself, I hire a trainer to meet me in the gym rather than my wife just pushing me to get to the gym. But I think that where our spouses need to be awesome is in the world of encouragement. And the world of encouragement doesn't just mean go get them, but it means also positive reinforcement. When you see your spouse going out of his or her way to take care of themselves, you want to celebrate that. You want to give them, a few good words about like you're proud of them, like this is amazing, it's benefiting X, Y, and Z. So that's what I would say as far as that's concerned. Okay, how often do you suggest having a mini vacation? So listen, I want to be realistic. I would tell you in the ideal world, if there was no problem, I find every other month is incredible. If that can't happen, let's split it into 4 times a year. But I think that what I see people do is that when they have it once, when they try it, very low key, all of a sudden they start fighting for it a bit more. So I would say that again, people have to be realistic. Obviously, people have constraints, there's a lot going on. But if you can shoot for it ideally in the world of, and shoot for it ideally in the world of, you know, whether it's once a quarter or ideally every other month, fantastic. Um, if off topic, ignore, but does the Rav hold by the 5 love languages? Listen, I think the 5 love languages book is an amazing book. I've given it out so many times. Learning how to speak the language of what our spouse actually likes. I have a PhD in basically being able to tell my wife what I like and like how I need things to be done. And therefore, it usually doesn't work. Okay. When we get good at figuring out, like, how does my wife need to be spoken to? What are things that make her feel special? I would tell you that book is not just worth it, it should be mandatory reading. It should be at every marriage ceremony across the world. You're given that book, and people actually not only read it, but they apply it. Okay. Do you consider going for a walk together as daytime? So I would say yes, as long as you're intentional about it. If it's just like, I have a house of teenage girls. So like me saying to my wife, like, just get out of the house and like it's like crazy in here. Let's just like go for a walk around the block. That's not date night. That's just getting a break, and I'm all for it. But maybe if all of a sudden my wife and I could be intentional about it and like let's like leave our phones and let's go out for a long walk together and let's go sit on the bench and this, so great. What I care is about us being proactive with the world of date night. I don't care so much about what we're doing. I care about making the effort for it. And where that really comes in is in a basic question. Is it in your calendar each week or not? And the reality is what we all know very clearly. If things aren't in that calendar, they don't happen. Any other questions here that I can try and give my best shot towards? Okay. I just want to just conclude again, just by saying that, again, these two things that we spoke about tonight, whether it's the world of self-care or proactive investment, sure, there's lots of talk about in the world of communication and more respect and all these things, which I love and are important. But I've found that if I look at where so many of the conversations I've had with couples who are trying to make their marriage better, who are trying to create good energy, I always find myself coming back to these two areas that are super important. And that's why I wanted to share with you here tonight. So I just wanted to thank everyone for being a part of this, for Susan for all of her incredible and needed work. And therefore, Susan, I'm handing it back over to you.
Wow. I have to say, I couldn't have designed a better hour for you if I had written it myself. It's a big, and I can't reinforce enough. I've been a date night devotee for so long, and as being the glue to keep a marriage together. And also the idea of the mini vacation. I think that both of them are so vital and so neglected. And so I'm just so happy. And to be honest, safe care, I was cringing a little bit as you go along and say that because I look at the areas that I also have neglected. So that it's like if we had just been you and me just having this conversation, it would have been like, whoa, he really knows me. So I'm sure that there are probably others of you out there that are also perhaps cringing a little bit too and saying, uh-oh, I guess I've been, um, but I can't thank you enough because the topics are so important. And I think that I hope that those of you here that are participating have really taken good notes because there's nothing more important than marriage. And I think it's unfortunately, the divorce rate and the fact that people don't invest enough and and put it as a last priority, that somehow it'll just go on its own. And I want to congratulate each of you for participating. Pat yourselves on the back because, because you did invest yourself. And if you're here, if you have a spouse, make sure that you go over those questions that he raised because they're good and thought-provoking. Um, I do want to say that also in terms of the 5 love languages, it's interesting that the author is not Jewish, and yet it shows how universal the subject matter is, and so that too many times we the famous story of somebody giving a toilet for Valentine's Day, um, because to their spouse, and so it ends almost since Valentine's Day is here. It's kind of that humor that's not so humorous. But so I can't really thank you enough for having hit the button on the most significant
Amazing. My
chapters.
pleasure.
Yeah,
My pleasure.
and so as a segue, I want to share with you that we have invite you all back for another kind of off topic topic, which is about pain, and as opposed to the no pain, no gain. But I have been a devotee of Dr. Sarno once I was introduced to his methodology. And I don't know if any of you know about him, but he has a very unique approach that where there's the concept of being suppressed, that anger is being suppressed and it causes a lot of physical pain. And so that it's a topic I also wanted to explore. So, and what I want to explore, I share with others. So if you could make your calendar on March 10th, 8 to 9 Israel time, 2 to 3 Eastern Daylight Time. And interestingly enough, the clocks change apparently 2 days before this scheduling. But the speaker is Dr. Barbara Gordon Cohen, who's the person who introduced me to Dr. Sarno. And it's really a very holistic approach to relationships. So I want to invite you all, but also I want to invite a survey. I know surveys, there's so many, and you get overwhelmed, like, oh, another survey. But this is 3 minutes netto, and we really want to hear. We want to hear what things you're interested in, and that your wishes are command. And but it's really of major appreciation because in the world of marriage, we get off track. But if there's things that excite people, we want to go out of our way to offer it if we can, logistically and whatever. But please, if you can just take the 3 minutes, you'll be doing us a favor. And which is why we're on every social media that you can imagine, especially our YouTube channel. The recording will be on the YouTube channel so that in the next couple of days. And our website is gorgeous. So I invite you to peruse it. It's got a lot of articles, a lot of content, and I authored the case for marriage education, and so I want someone to read it. We're also on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and is there anything else out there that we're missing? But anyway, most of all, I want to thank you all for participating because it's really if you thought of any last minute questions, it's not too late to ask Rabbi Lynn. So before we sign off, if something came to you, chat away. But in the meantime, I do want to say that these are all that my passion for marriage education. I'll just tell you very quickly. My mother had Alzheimer's for 18 years, and she and my father were married 52 years. So I started all this journey not professionally, but in their memory because of the kind of marriage they had and the respect and I'm a daughter of a very it was a very excruciating disease, but yet as a couple they nailed it. And so I wanted to take their qualities and spread it to the world. So my point of the matter is enjoy each other if you're married, cherish each other, spend the time, take the date night, take the mini vacation, and luxuriate and take the self care because you'll be doing yourself a favor. So these topics really resonate to me. Thank you all for being a part of our journey.